Hello, everyone. Good day, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you're listening to this podcast. So, today I'm going to be going over on Intel Arc. And one of the recent things I've been hearing lately with Intel Arc, I'd say it's been pretty good. The amount of feedback, and I'm sure not many will like Arc, but as of I have to say though, I happen to like that we're in a good position with now Intel. I say Intel has been in the GPU world for, I would say, for a bit. They haven't been around for a long time compared with Nvidia and AMD's Radeon graphics cards. But this is good because I'm going to give you my 2 cents of why we definitely need a third competitor on this space, because this is one of the reasons I see with Intel. And while people have criticized Intel in the past with CPUs, but their GPU market is fairly new. And so what I am saying about this is that the Arc has only been around since we're talking about 2022. So we are talking about less less than 5 years right now too. So four years, because in March 30th, that's when the Intel come out with the Intel Arc graphics, the graphics brand. And so that's still one of the reasons why I definitely want to go over it, because with everything going high and graphics card being in the price of, well, you guys know what I'm talking about. The prices of graphics card is ridiculous, off the wall, expensive, and basically a graphics card is now like the price of a car payment. And it's like, how could anyone afford to build their own PC during times like this when we are in a ongoing recession right now? And it's really bad, because if you're starting out with PCs, I would have said Nvidia or Radeon, and both have their ups and downs. But if it was me today, I wouldn't even consider going for neither of these two, because I'm not spending over $500 on a graphics card. I think the price point is just pushing people to say, no more, no thanks, we're good. So that's what we're going to be talking about in today's show. Oh, and by the way, if you want to hear more on this podcast, and if you enjoy what you're going to be listening to in today's podcast, consider liking the video and subscribing to the video if you're listening to this on YouTube, or be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platforms of your choice, or wherever you listen to me on. So with that said, let's get started with the conversation of Intel Arc. So beginning with the topic of Intel Arc, and as I've been going over with Intel's Arc as of recent, and one thing I will say is, when I've looked up prices on graphics cards, everything that's been going on these days, and especially for me considering looking to do a spare build for somebody, or even for myself in that matter, if I had to, and if I, in this case, we're going over on Intel's Arc, I've been hearing a lot of good reception to it, where I mean, right there, I've gone over prices on Newegg and then Amazon, the prices are actually quite decent where it stands. I mean, you've got prices varying from $130 to $350. Between that price range, it's not all that bad, considering, with everything going on, and with nowadays, you want something that's going to last you quite a bit, and everything I've been seeing online, like, and that's just one thing I will say is, I think everyone is, or I can't say everybody, because I don't speak for everybody about how they have their graphics card, but Intel Arc, it's a push for people for bringing other choices as far as the graphics card, bringing more competition, because we really need than just the dual monopoly of Nvidia, GeForce, and AMD's Radeon products, which I have to say though, both great brands in their own way. But I think a lot of people have gotten so sick with Nvidia, as with everything else happening, Nvidia, they're not liking what they're a lot. I mean, I would say a lot of hobbyists, enthusiasts like myself, are just not liking what Nvidia is going through. And even though, look, with a lot of developer support on the line with GeForce, like, and I get it, a lot of people are going to put more support for both AMD Radeon and Nvidia's G4 graphics cards. So that's one of the cases right there, and Intel Arc. I mean, right there, they've been around for quite a bit. And I will say that with the graphics processors generation, they have quite a young history, and especially with processor generations going back with Alchemist, and then you've had the brands like the Arc 3, Arc 5, and then the Arc 7, because when it was released on MSRP, and the MSRP price in the US price, as I'm seeing, which is when it came out for like $110 for the A310 Arc 3, and then the A380, which cost $139 starting. So you look at that, it's like, wow, that's incredible, right? And I have to say, looking over on that, this is amazing. Amazing seeing that at least Intel is looking to get into that arena where right now I think it is a bold move right now, because we do need more of that coming along and more competition coming along at somebody's way, because we're and to a point that, first of all, we have to have at least more companies getting into that GPU side, and GPU is a very precious commodity right now too, because and who knows if and I almost feel that I myself will end up losing myself for not getting an ARC at some point, because I may end up feeling that at some point down the road, Intel may end up raising their prices for graphics card, like both of them are with AMD and Nvidia. I really hope not, and let's not jinx myself, nor I want to jinx all you listeners out there too. So, and I wanted to say though, with everything that's been going on, and as I've reading with the branding, the model, so I want to get into one of the things I've checked out, especially with the desktops, the desktop ones, like just like as I read, the A310 and the A380. I mean, it's a few years old for the Arc Alchemist GPUs, which in this case don't know how it'll work in today's world. I mean, look, if it's a few years old, it shouldn't be bad. Hopefully you guys can get a used version out of the Alchemist right there. And I had no experience with Intel's Arc. And now, like I said, like in today's world, I would get an Intel over the other two brands. That's my personal footnote right there. And then the other ones I'm seeing with the graphics card are the workstations, which is the workstations. I'm not going to say much about it too, which right there, the workstations are the Arc Pro. So most of you guys that are listening to this are mostly consumer guys, not not really much of the audience that I appeal to, which is the enterprise people that are. But I'm sure that for those of you guys that are working on the client side, are working in fixing desktops or workstation computers, that will matter to you guys for sure. Now, with Intel already having the workstations, which the branding, which is the A30M and A40, the A50 that came out in 2022, and that's the ones that came out for the Alchemist GPUs for workstations there. And then let me go over and read over the Battle Mage. Now, what the heck is the Battle Mage? The Battle Mage is the second generation X architecture that debuted with its low power variant in Lunar Lake mobile processors that released in September 2024. On December 3rd, 2024, Intel announces two Arc B desktop graphics cards based on the X2 HPG graphics architecture. And right there, the current ones I'm going over for the Battle Mage, which came out the middle of last year. One of them is the B 570, which came out January 16, 2025, with the MSRP of $219. Still not bad of a price point for graphics card. For like these days, you'll be spending like I mentioned before, over $500 or probably $1,000 on a graphics card. Because when I've spent the graphics card for the 3060 RTX Nvidia, I felt, man, that was still a lot of money back then too, and I got it only because I won a competition with Nvidia. What was it? Was it Nvidia? No, excuse me, Newegg, where I was able to buy the graphics card from Newegg at the time, because right now if you're getting a graphics card these days, I don't know what to tell you, and I say good luck with that, because back then, before Intel Arc was a thing, you only had just the Nvidia graphics card and AMD, and I remember this was before 2021. Like, you really didn't have a choice other than these two. You had only just Nvidia graphics cards or AMD. And I'm glad that we are reaching to something else that is budget friendly. And we're not seeing these prices of graphics card coming from Radeon. And I will be very, very explicitly honest to you. I was considering Radeon. And while I hear that Radeon for Linux users is really good for Linux users, but in no way in God's green earth I would spend that kind of money for Radeon. And I will say that it is nice that Radeon is there, and there's a lot of good support coming over to the Linux world, which they've been going at it for some time. It's for many years now. Like, we're all talking about 20 years of Linux support for Radeon graphics cards. And now with Intel, I do think that will change things up, which it's a good thing. We want to see more of that happening as time goes on, because there shouldn't be just only two players in the graphics GPU world. And I say that because someone like myself that is just gaming, both gaming and for working, we do need options right there. And if it was just only two graphics cards, first of all, that's only going to be just a duopoly. We wouldn't have any more choices than just that too. And for the most average consumers that is on the desktop space, like I am, you will look forward for the B570 or the B580 graphics cards. And they're both great graphics cards too. So I would say for the desktop user, for everyday home user, you just using it as your daily driver, that's great. And if you're someone that works in the enterprise, on enterprise or working through workstations, then the B50 or the B50 Arc Pros will do you good, which is still great of its own, because if you are spending that kind of money right there, the MSRP for the workstations Arc Pros will cost you around $349. I mean, not too bad, right? Compared to workstation graphics card costing a lot more these days. And as I've gone over online, the future generations that we're going to see further down the road, which Intel has announced of the Arc GPUs that's currently being under development, which is the Celestial X3P and Druid XE4. Additionally, Panther Lake series, the iGPUs will be based on the XE3. So yeah, you heard that right. Which this is going to be something that it's going to be more of an improvement overall. I mean, the graphics cards are in demand, and a lot of people are getting into graphics cards. Intel, it's good. We are seeing a lot more people getting in the Intel Arc GPUs, which is nice. and I liked that how that what I've been hearing a lot of good is that a lot of the software in your applications for video games will run well and run perfectly smooth on an Arc. And if it was me, if I had to purchase a GPU today, I would go for the B model. What was it? The Battle Mage. That's right. The XE2 second generation one, which is the MSRP, which is between 219 and drew $249, which is the B570. I would have to go for that one, or the B580, which both are great right of its own too. One of the things I will put out right there, and as I've gone over a video I've watched on Jay's 2 cents video on the Intel Arc support, where one of the developers that, if you guys haven't heard of the news, that the development team behind Crimson Desert, for some reason they didn't even put support for Intel for the Intel Arc graphics cards, and it tells you something that is wrong with that too. And what this is one thing this came to mind. One thing I have to say though, after listening to Jay's 2 cents video, and watching it over, he said that first of all, this was very calculated, and how he doesn't believe one bit that that the team behind it didn't thought about putting support for the Intel Arc, and he doesn't believe it for one bit, and or he believes that why didn't they put that on day one while they've already had support for three of the systems, which is Nvidia, AMD, and then Apple. And it's crazy to see that right off the bat, Intel, they just threw Intel under the bus, which I would believe so as well. And it's kind of tells you, okay, hold on right there too. Something is quite wrong right there with the way they've handled this right there. It's pretty poorly done. Now, I would say I'm siding on Jay's 2 cents on the fact that Crimson Desert, for some reason, if you had a Intel Arc built into your system, and let's say you came back from a long day's work or whatever, and then you've had the game installed via the Steam, and then you go and boot up, press the play button on your Steam account, and then all of a sudden it doesn't want to work, and it'll just flat out tell you that, sorry, we don't support the graphics card, card that you're using. It's like, why? It's like, it doesn't really make sense. And I will believe that Crimson Desert, and this is one thing I will never do, is pre-order games that before I even go and purchase a game, I would find out from the reviews first, and from people that have had experience with games like Crimson Desert first, if those developers will go right out and support Intel Arc from day one right there too. Because in no way I would ever support that the team behind Crimson Desert. And by the way, I think it's Pearl Abyss, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, actually it is. It's called Pearl Abyss, which I'm going through another article which they were saying the same thing, saying about Pearl Abyss versus course on Crimson Desert's Intel Arc GPU support after community backlash, with a patch now in the works to bring full optimization, and which is really weird. Look, and I get that Nvidia and AMD is widely supported everywhere else, but one of the weirdest things, which J2 Cents did point out, is that the Mac support, they have the specifications on for Mac, and I'm just thinking, why are they even putting support for the Mac? There's not a lot of gamers for on the Mac, and it wouldn't really make sense to have specifications on the Mac computers. I mean, really, who is going to go onto the Mac on the Mac OS and boot up Crimson Desert? It's just beyond baffling to see that from a company that they will put all support for Nvidia, AMD and the Mac, which the Mac uses their own architecture on their own GPUs, and doesn't really make sense that couldn't even put support for Intel Arc GPUs, and that's why it is beyond me too, because why do we have to go about this and say no? Why do we have to support companies that will not support your graphic cards of choice? It's a bit baffling, seriously. And you have to take a look at over here too. If this was me, like, I would never pre-order games that most developers will never support for the graphics of your PC. And clearly, I myself, I don't even put pre-orders for many companies that go out and do not support graphics cards right there too. Because this is my thing. Digital pre-orders, I find that it can be quite wasteful, and you're just paying the game before it launches. And I don't like that, because if you want a full-on hands experience, the problem I find with pre-orders is that when you pre-order a game like that beforehand, it most likely you'll probably never get your monies back if the game does not come out properly too. And that's one thing I will say is it's terrible, because why are you putting your money down on a game that doesn't fully work on your machine? And it doesn't matter. And Chrism, and then what was it? The Chrism Desert team, the company, Pearl Abyss, of all people, these guys, why did with a game that's had a big launch already, makes you wonder. First of all, and it is quite telling, because if you are an Intel Arc user or listening to this point, you're going to ask yourself, well, first of all, if it's not going to run on my current GPU, then I'm going to just go out and flat out ask for a refund, because it is ridiculous. And as a consumer, you should really actually go out and complain and say, no, I'm not going to support this company because they did not release the support already. And even Intel reached out to the developers, Pearl Abyss, on this too, and they did not even put out for support for Intel Arc, which is ridiculous, because Intel Arc is starting to pick up a bit of steam here, and people are buying these GPUs too. And now, if it was me going for the next GPU, I'll surely tell you it won't be Nvidia next. Nvidia has had its chance, and I've actually openly criticized Nvidia on my last video on YouTube, and if you have not seen it, they are one of the worst. Now, I will say is that they may have had growing support with Linux, and that's cool and all, but if you are a Linux user like myself, look, I don't think you want to have a Nvidia GPU at all, because even though little by little they are picking up steam, I don't trust the company at this point. And they are fully supporting AI and doing a bunch of crazy nonsense with DLSS5, as I complained on the last video on this too. And I would say Nvidia is going to be here, because if you are someone that is looking for a good graphics card in the market right now, Intel Arc is just going to be the way to go, because even though there's going to be a lot of the demand won't be here right now, but most of the demand will be coming once people find out, oh, we got a third option in the room. All right, let's kick it. Let's do this. So the bottom line is, for everyone listening, let your wallet speak, and be careful who you support on the game, for any game developer, because if they don't outright support your GPU on day one a release, I just find this no excuse right there. And then yet Pearl Abyss goes out on apology on the fact that we are going to reverse course, we're really sorry, blah blah blah. And sometimes it's like it's good they're going to end up backtracking it, but if they knew in advance that Intel contacted this team about this, it should have never been a surprise to them, because in fact they should have known already at this point too. Which I have to say though, even if a guy like I follow with Jay's 2 cents, he's probably has a point. If they were already contacted in advance, then why the team did not even put that option in the first place, including Nvidia support and AMD support for Radeon graphics cards? That I will never understand. But yeah, that's my small little complaint that I've been hearing as of this week with Intel. Intel, I would say that this will probably will get me excited into getting a Arc GPU, which I'm very, very excited for, because it does support the majority of games, except for probably a few games not support for with very few developers. And I want to give this a shot too. Now, guys, let me know what you think about the Intel Arc GPUs. Is this something that you are looking to get for your next build, or are swapping it out of your current graphics cards? Let me know down below. I would appreciate that too. Now, if you're listening to me on Apple, Spotify, or any of your podcast platforms of your choice, let me know as well too. I'll have the email down below so you can tell me about why. What is it that you're looking for your computer, or is Arc going to be your next big shot? Love to hear from you guys. Take care. Have a good one. And thanks for listening to the podcast, as always.